Going for Two Live, it's your boy here, Dan at the B League Says, coming at you with a Monday night pick and prop show. Show on behalf of Underdog Fantasy, promo code GF2 for 100% matching deposit up to $1,000 on your initial outlay. That's a fair chunk of change to put down straight off the bat. But hey, if you've got it, why not use the promo code and get $1,000 in matching credits? It sounds like a very, very good idea. As always, come find us in our Going for Two Live Discord. It is free to subscribe. You can get all your waiver advice, which is probably a good thing this week with all those injuries going down. Fab bidding advice, which is probably a good thing with all those injuries going down. You can get auction advice, dynasty trade advice, all that sort of stuff, betting and prop advice from me as well if you come and tag me in that too. You can come find us over there as always. But what I'm here to do, other than give really shitty food takes about in and out or start fights with Houston Texans fans online about CJ Stroud being a glorified Daniel Jones, I am here to talk about Monday Night Football of the Detroit Lions at Baltimore, the Detroit Lions at the Baltimore Ravens tonight, which is a fantastic game on the cards. It should be, but I'm going to dive into a little bit of stuff that you should know about this matchup, and then you can tell me if I'm right or wrong, because I think this one might be a bit more low scoring than what we have it set out to be. Well, unless you're Detroit. Detroit might not score a lot of points tonight, but I've got a gut feeling that Baltimore should be fine. Either way, we're going to get onto our props, but before we do, there is a nice bonus prop play that you can play today. It's Lamar Jackson. There's a promo for the next 5 hours going on if you to put it in a promo into a parlay or whatever you might want to do. Lamar Jackson over 0 rush and bonus yards, rush and passing yards 0, whatever he's got is for 0. As long as he scores more than half a yard, you can add him into your parlay for the day. But that might be a nice way to get away from Lamar Jackson props, because everyone's just going to hit over on whatever line they have, no matter what, aren't they? So let's get into these pick and props. And pick number 1, we're going to talk about Detroit Lions running back Jahmyr Gibbs. I haven't seen his name pop up much this week for this matchup, maybe because it's the Monday night game and everyone's stewing on a few other things, quarterbacks and wide receivers. But I really like this matchup for Jahmyr Gibbs this week. So we're going to take him higher than 3.5 receptions, which shouldn't be a hard quota for him to hit. Look, despite playing one fewer game than everyone else this year, the Baltimore Ravens have given up the 5th most targets and receptions to the running back position. They're at about 20 and 17, giving up 20 targets, 17 receptions, as it would be. And you can see where that has happened to guys like James Cook, Dylan Sampson, whoever it might be that they've played between Buffalo and Cleveland. That's what their thing is, and they give that up a little bit too frequently, in my opinion. It also makes sense when you consider the ideas. Look, the Ravens against Buffalo, they took a really early lead and a high lead, and the Bills had to chase from behind, and they started spreading it behind to James Cook a little bit more frequently than you think, and that happened too. Same thing happened against Cleveland. They hammered the Browns, and then here we are, they're chasing and pulling back as much as they can, getting cheap gains, 2-minute drills, and whatever it may be. So those sorts of things happen in these Ravens games quite frequently, and Jahmyr Gibbs at 3.5 seems like a fairly good play to beat. Look, the idea also might actually sit well with Gibbs. He's been a bit Jekyll and Hyde in the stat sheet this year. You look at that Packers game. Okay, it was a little bit weird that he scored very well in PPR, but he went for 10 for 10 and 31 receiving. Like, he did nothing on the ground, but 10 for 10, that's 10 points. That's 13.1 points just catching the ball and going 31 yards in that regard. But 10 for 10, that's mad. But then he went 3 and 10 in a wash game versus against the Browns or whatever it may have been the week after. So, that was also a wash at halftime. I don't know why the Bears, it doesn't really matter. Either way, the idea that Gibbs can get to a baseline of 4 targets, and he's going, at 100% at this point, 10 for 10 and 3 for 3, it seems like a bit of a lock to me in that regard. And on the road to the Ravens, the only time he's faced them as well, faced him in 2023, went 10-9, 58. So 10 targets, 9 receptions, 58 yards in 2023. And we're going to look at him as someone who can't get to 3.5 receptions. I feel like Jahmyr Gibbs at this line is a very, very good play to make. Pick number 2 as well, I'm looking at Jared Goff, lower than 1.5 passing touchdowns and lower than 260 passing yards, 260.5 to be exact. Look, in 3 attempts for the Ravens versus the Ravens through his career, Jared Goff, yet to throw a single touchdown against them. So in 3 appearances, 0 touchdowns passing. We don't want to know about that. And he's only ever punched over 220 passing yards once. That was also in 2023 when Jahmyr Gibbs had that massive game. He went for about 280, if I remember off the back of my head. Other than that, he doesn't go over 220 very often against the Ravens each time he's played them. Obviously, different teams every year over year. I understand that, but consistently, he doesn't really do it. And again, he got the 280 in 2023. They were belted 38-6 in Baltimore, which adds to the context of how White Gibbs went off in that matchup as well. In fact, Goff's record is so bad versus Baltimore. In 2 of those 3 games he's played, his teams have only scored 6 points twice. We don't also talk about that either because, they're a high-flying team. They are very offensive, but, yeah, it doesn't really happen for Jared Goff and the Lions, let alone anything else that he's done against the Ravens. Look, the best he's done points-wise is 2021, with the Lions managed to lock down 17 points, where Swift and Jamal Williams got touchdowns for him. No passing touchdowns. Again, he's never scored a passing touchdown against the Ravens. I'll reiterate that again. So going lower than 1.5 doesn't seem like that much of a stretch. Look, the Ravens, when they have a lead, are worrisome. We've seen them this year kind of get pulled back a little bit and really want the Lions chasing you down. I really don't think that's an optimal thing. But, when they play against these dynamic quarterbacks, yeah, they kind of struggle a bit, which is weird. You've got Lamar Jackson. You should know how that operation works. But against these pocket passes, I don't feel like they feel too threatened, and they kind of just do their thing. Jared Goff, not exactly the most mobile of units. He's not exactly going to run off like Josh Allen did in week 1. So, I feel like, they've managed to concede, 2 passing touchdowns this year, which is a bit of a worry with this prop, considering what Joe Flacco and Dylan Gabriel got one against them. But at the same time, Goff's track record here is, not a one-off fluky stat line. I just don't think that's what we're looking at here. That's consistent. He doesn't score passing touchdowns against the Ravens. Pick number 3, we're looking at Roquan Smith. I love an IDP prop, and I love them. They're fantastic, and they're a great way to bet on a game because, it was put to me, when you watch defensive players, you're watching the full game. You bet on those guys. That's how I got into IDP predominantly. I won't play in any other league other than that. When you start to watch this and you start to take into consideration, oh, wow, Roquan Smith's going to do this. Okay, so this player's probably going to get targeted more, so I know who to put in this lineup. Kind of makes the picture a little bit more clearer for me. We're going to go Roquan Smith higher than 9.5 tackles, which, again, feels like a high. I hate chasing these high marks. You think this is a high mark for Roquan Smith. It really probably is not. Look, he's a damn machine. He's an animal. And the best, arguably, I think Roquan Smith, I think he's the best linebacker in the league. I don't know how debatable that is. There's some really good ones out there, but I don't know if many are better than Smith, to be honest. And look, you'd think, again, 9.5 is a high line. He was able to manage that, last week? In week 1, 10 combined. Last week, 15 combined in week 2. So that's 15 tackle potential every week if the matchup's right. And you look at this matchup, the Lions these weeks prior, they've given up the second most tackles to the linebacker position. They're averaging 21 tackles per game in that regard. So it's a good matchup for linebackers. Smith, he's really the only every down linebacker as well. Teddy Buchanan started to jump in as well, which is fantastic. To get a bit more clarity about that, if you like betting on like external linebacker props, like, okay, Buchanan might go 6.5. It might be there for you. That's a good prop to take. But yeah, Smith, only every down linebacker. And that doesn't change the idea that he can and will see plenty of St. Brown, Laporta, Gibbs, Montgomery. He's going to see lots of those guys today. And I think that's fantastic for us with this prop over the middle of the field. I feel like he is in for a big week in that regard. You look at week 1, Walker and Cooper, 21 combined, and I feel like 9.5 for Smith. I think that's a bare minimum, to be honest with you. I think that's a great way to put it. I checked out a couple other props. I thought they were a little bit of fun that I saw. Lamar Jackson, 5+ rushing yards in each quarter. That's paying at 1.75x. Look, obviously, decent pass rush in Detroit. Right? Hutchinson, Al-Qaeda with Branch and Anzalone trying to chip in with that, as well as some pass rush metrics too. So I think he might have to scoot a little bit more than what we think. And I also like the idea of DeAndre Hopkins scoring a touchdown. Look, 50% of his receptions this year have gone for touchdowns, which make what you want of that. 4 receptions, 2 touchdowns. I know that's really not manageable, but hey, here we are. It's not going to Mark Andrews, is it? Let's not talk about that. And I saw a couple long reception props as well that I didn't mind. Sam Laporta, longest completion over 17.5, which I don't think is too bad. He went for 32 in week 1, 10 last week, so he's got it in him. And Justice Hill at 10.5. He hasn't got near that quota yet. You think he would, but he kind of hasn't. So I think he's managed close to 8 yards on a reception. So I feel like that might go under 2 in that regard. That's easy. The easiest 10 minutes you could have for Monday Night Football's Lions at Ravens. Here we are. We're going to talk about that as always. As I wrap up, let's talk about our Discord free, going for 2 live, free Discord over there. You can find us over there, get your waiver advice, fab advice, Pick-up advice, trade advice, betting advice, just come over to our Going for Two Live Discord. It's a fantastic place to be. You get your questions answered pretty quickly over there. And as always, go join Underdog Fantasy, promo code GF2 for 100% matching deposit up to $1,000 on your initial outlay. It's a great place to get started. And you can look at props like this as always. Remember, the first bonus prop you've got is Lamar Jackson over half a passing rush yard. It's a bonus play. Go nuts. Pick number 1, Jahmyr Gibbs, higher than 3.5 receptions. Pick number 2, Jared Goff, lower than 1.5 passing touchdowns and lower than 260.5 passing yards. Pick number 3, Roquan Smith, higher than 9.5 tackles. I also like Lamar Jackson, 5+ rushing yards in each quarter. Sam Laporta over 17.5 receiving yards as his longest reception. And Justice Hill, under 10.5 as his longest reception. And DeAndre Hopkins to score a touchdown. Bit on the plate there for this week. Thanks for sticking with me. I will get back to you during the week for our Thursday night game. As always, stay safe, happy bets, cheers, and goodbye.